Make way for the bad guy!
Alright, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Crowd Pleaser, the show that brings you the inside scoop on what it takes to be a male entertainer in today's world. This is episode 7, and today we're going to be discussing the compare and contrast of female and male sides of the industry. I have two special guests with me that I'll be introducing here in a moment, but first things first, want to go ahead and mention La Bear Dallas, which is my home office. I'll be there Wednesday through Sunday. If you guys got any kind of party going on and need to get a little escape time, that is your number one destination for it. You need laughs, you need some me time, come out to La Bear Dallas, check us out. Like I've said, Wednesday to Sunday, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. Next, I want to mention our Patreon. That's patreon.com/crowdpleaser. This is where you can give back to the show. The show will always be free for you, but if you come in, pledge a little $1 a month, we'll go ahead and send you a personalized thank you card for supporting us, and you get all kinds of perks like behind the scenes footage and videos and whatnot. So definitely check us out there. All right. So my first guest has been she danced for 7 years full time, and now is periodically dancing off and on. She's competed in various events to include pole dancing and themed events. She's taken 3 main competition titles during that stint, and a numerous count of various side events, specific stuff. I'd like to welcome the show Megan. How you doing, Megan?
I'm doing good today.
Outstanding, outstanding. Appreciate you being on the show, and we look forward to hearing your experiences. How long have you been coming to male strip clubs?
It's probably going on about 12 years.
Oh, outstanding. So you've seen, shoot, more people than I can imagine, huh?
Oh, for sure.
Outstanding, outstanding. Thanks for being on the show. Next,
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to introduce our next co-host. She's been dancing for 2 years. She is not only the top money maker at her club, knocking the rest of the competition out of the water. She's also a fantastic mother of 4, which I've had the fortune of meeting. And let me tell you, they are quite the hoot. Let's welcome on the show Ashley. How you doing, Ashley?
Hey, I'm great. How are you guys doing?
Can't complain. Good to be here. Good to be here. Had a long weekend. Celebrated Christian's birthday this weekend, so that was good. That was his first birthday at the club. Brought in a good crowd. It was a cool theme. And so today it's Sunday, recovery day. Kind of getting this show knocked out and stuff before I got going to work tonight. So, ladies, if you guys are okay with it, let's go ahead and jump right into it. I want to appreciate you guys being on the show. You're going to give us insight to how something that's so similar, i.e. both of us being strippers, end up being 2 entirely different worlds simply because one's catering to a female crowd where another is catering to a male crowd. So let's go ahead and Megan, if you can start us off. When in your dancing career did you first step foot into a male strip club? Which club was it? And what were your initial impressions?
The first time I stepped into a male club, I was 21, and that would have been the Hard Bodies in San Antonio.
Okay.
But I did work with male entertainers before that, though. Just first time going in the club was 21.
Oh, really? So did you have kind of a feel like what you were getting into because you had interacted with male entertainers prior to that, or was it still a new experience?
I had an idea, but I was I was pretty comfortable and pretty. I mean, I already kind of knew what to expect since I also did theme shows. So going in there, I already had an idea what I was going to see.
Understandable, understandable. And as far as I am aware, the theme shows isn't a common thing in the female industry, correct?
Not exactly, no.
Okay. And what led you into starting to like? Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you, or did you just you were competing and you wanted to add some spice to your show?
Are we talking about male entertainers?
As far as when you started to work with them, yes, before you stepped foot in Hard Bodies.
Well, working with them, they've been at the same events. They've been at 2 of the events I competed in. I didn't actually compete in the same shows with them, but I was at the same events and I was around them and
Oh, okay, I understand. I got you. Okay, that makes
might have
sense. Pretty
might have
good.
helped them set up.
Okay, no, that makes sense. I understand now. Right on. How about you, Ashley? When did you first step foot inside of a strip club, and what were your initial impressions?
My first time would have been on my 18th birthday, and it was actually La Bear Dallas. Was the only one I've been to. It was a little scary just because I'd never been. And then it was a little awkward because one of the guys I went to high school was actually dancing there at the time.
Oh wow, no kidding.
Yeah. So that part was a little awkward, but it was a lot of fun. Just I didn't really know what to expect. I thought this was just going to be like a bunch of naked guys. But the shows were really awesome. Just all the different skits they put on.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, and I've been going since.
That's actually kind of cool. So then that's perfect because Megan, you actually were stripping prior to, or at least performing prior to stepping foot, and actually you didn't. So that's awesome. And I can imagine like coming into a place for the first time at 18, it could probably be pretty intimidating with everything we had going on. Did you end up coming in on a slow night or a busy Friday or Saturday, Ashley?
I'm gonna say it was a Friday or Saturday, so it was pretty crazy. So we had a birthday table set up like right up front, and so it was fun, but it was a little crazy and scary all at the same time.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. That's pretty funny though. They definitely went all out for your first time, and at 18, man, the world's still such a small place for you.
Right.
So when you started dancing, did the dynamic change? Like when did the environment? I know by that point you were already somewhat comfortable with the club because you've been coming for so long, but did you kind of see it in a different light, being in the club now and kind of experiencing another strip club, so to speak?
Yeah, I think once you go there and then once you start working in the same industry, you look at things different and you see how much difference there is between the male clubs and the female clubs. And yeah, I was totally looked at it different once I started working in the same industry.
Right on. Do you feel like there's a difference in the type of vibe between LeBaire and, say, the club you work at?
For sure. Girls are seem to be way more excited when they go, where guys tend to just kind of sit back and watch. They don't rush to the stage like girls do to throw money and scream and holler. So
Okay.
It's definitely a different feel.
Understandable. So, Megan, considering that you performed and you did do theme shows a little more in line with what male entertainment does, what do you think is the difference between the club you worked at and Hard Bodies or LeBaire, since you've been to both?
The difference between the two clubs?
Yeah, as far as like the environment, the overall vibe of the place, you know what I mean? Like kind of how the crowd carries themselves in the energy.
LeBaire, they seem to be a little more pumped up at LeBaire. You guys are really good at getting the crowd really hyped up, and you guys do really high energy shows. Hard Bodies, they also do high energy shows. The thing I like about Hard Bodies also is they seem to do a lot more comedy skits, which I enjoy because you actually get to see them interact with their customers in a more fun way instead of staying to the stereotypical romance way that girls like to picture male dancers. But I enjoy both equally, though.
And now, do you have any kind of is that vibe reciprocated in the club that you worked at, or were the themes all in line with like you said, the romance and the seduction?
The vibes, it really depend on the club you're at and the kind of crowd you get. It was always different. It depended on how busy it was. It depended on the show I did. It's really hit or miss.
Okay, yeah, understandable. Like, I mean, it's definitely crowd dependent. Like, you can feel a difference in our club on a Wednesday or Thursday, or even especially a Sunday when it's typically all regulars and veterans, where, like you said, we could be a lot more funny and even sometimes do our regular skits, but just add a lot more humor to it because we're with friends.
Yeah.
So, considering that you've been to several clubs now, what are your thoughts on the way like main stage is operated, like the flow, the way we change music a lot more? Like I know obviously in female clubs, you know, dances are timed by us the length of a song and whatnot, so it kind of keeps a consistent flow. Versus on the male clubs, like, you know, we're changing music constantly, maybe after a minute or 90 seconds of it, and every time a guy goes up, we do these theme shows. Everything's some type of themed boy band or vampire or something, doctor, cop. How do you feel? What are your thoughts on like seeing that on a regular basis at a club? Do you feel like it definitely does the trick?
For a male club?
Yes.
Oh yeah, for a male club, I love it. Switching through different songs randomly also keeps everyone's interest, and it keeps people hyped up instead of staying with the same song for the full 4 to 5 minutes like you do at a female club, and then you go on to the next full length song. Um, but yeah, I I like the energy. I think you get better energy because you get to do that, and I like seeing the shows. It's it's just fun to see the variety that you guys do.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Ashley? I mean, you've been going to club for who knows how long now. So, do you do you feel like we have, considering that you do the job as well? Do you like the way that Le Bear is designed?
No, I love it. It's the changing of the music is great. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I really wanted to hear the rest of that song, but it also like it kind of keeps you from getting bored, and it's like, okay, we're dancing to this and now we got this song coming. So I think it's a lot of fun, and it does keep people energized and keeps us going. So whereas at our club, you may have a really slow song for like 3 minutes, and then you may have a really fast one, and it's just kind of like, okay, this one's getting too slow, it's too long, let's move on to something more energized.
So to tack on as far as the changing of the music and stuff, it just came to me the because I've heard of it. Do you guys, and you could pick and choose who answers this one, or both of you can. Do you, like, for example, if a song, because you know they're gonna play the full song, do you wait for a song that you are gonna like, or a certain type of vibe or feel that you want before you guys do a dance? Or do you just kind of like, all right, whatever's playing, I'm gonna zone out? The reason why I ask is because I've catch myself during, especially like a private dance where they're a lot longer and we'll go through maybe 5 or 6 different songs. Like, I almost sometimes change the way I'm dancing because of the music. So is that something you guys experience?
I try to just block it out and go when they're ready to go. I mean, literally, I have been in the back and danced to Akuna Matata, no lie, just because that's what they happen to be playing for some weird reason. I yeah. So I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really know how to dance to this, so we're just gonna act like we don't hear it. I just kind of try to, I guess I try to do a more sensual dance no matter what song's playing, because that's just kind of my thing. So I tend to just block it out and dance to whatever.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, hey, at the very least, it's no worries for the rest of your days, right?
Right. And then plus, if you're already in a dance and they want another one, you don't know what's going to come on, so you don't want to be like, hey, well, let's go wait until this song is over.
Yeah, that makes sense. I understand. I find myself kind of trying to sneak in dances when I can, considering that, we have side stage rotations. I have to help guys on main stage and whatnot. How about you, Megan?
It's basically the same thing. I do basically the same type of dance, regardless of the music that's playing. But you also don't want to waste your time and wait for the right song that you feel into. You just go with the flow, basically. Plus, you
Right.
never know what the girl is going to play next, or you never know what's going to happen. Unlike you guys are used to each other's sets, and you already have an idea of what song they're going to play next or what type of songs in a row. So we just kind of learn to go with it.
Yeah, it's funny because I understand what you're saying. Like, sometimes your timing is an issue and you don't have the luxury of waiting. But as you know, we have cowboys at our club, so I can't tell you how many times I've heard guys like asking like, "Hey, who's going up on stage next?" Like, "Oh, I don't want to be on side stage for country," or like, "I cannot do a dance to country." Or I have done a dance where someone's doing a comedy skit or something where it's a lot of dialogue and no music, and then I kind of roll with it. I'm like, I'll just dance to the music in my head, but I've had the lady being like, awkward. So obviously, you guys don't run into that problem. The DJs kind of talk over the music a little bit in your clubs and whatnot. So I'm sure it works out. How do you ladies feel about having people on stage? Like, obviously at LeBaron Hard Bodies, you put your bachelorette and your birthday girls and just randomly people that are fans up on stage, and the guys either include them in the skit or dance on them. Is that something that either of you have experienced in your clubs?
With me, when I'm performing actual shows, like if I'm being a feature entertainer and I'm actually doing theme shows, it's common to pull a guy up on stage with you and basically work with them the same way you do with girls and you throw them on stage. They're rather a prop or you dance on them. But as a regular house dancer, and I don't do theme shows, I just do my regular thing. It's not common to see them go on stage unless someone does pay for them to go up there for a bachelor party or a bachelor dance. That's really the only time you really see them go on stage, because otherwise most clubs really don't want the men on the stage otherwise.
No, I understand. I understand. I knew there was a slight difference in commonality, or even if it was allowed when it comes to the female club. How about your club, Ashley?
And we are allowed to have a guy on stage if he is paid or if his friends have paid for him. And we do like a certain little skit for, I mean, it's the same thing for every guy we put on stage. So it doesn't happen a whole lot, but, you know, sometimes for somebody's birthday or something, their friends will put them up there. Now, if I do have a girl come to me on stage and she's having a lot of fun and she's with a big group, I will sometimes like pull her up on stage with me or talk her into getting up there. And, you know, they'll get up there. They're usually a little drunk, so they'll get up there and they'll do a little spin on the pole or whatever. But tends to get people more excited when you have like a random girl customer up there.
Yeah, I can understand that. There's a couple skits that we have where we involve pulling someone up on stage, like our Latin skit, and we just grab two random females and have them do a dance off on stage. And sometimes it's a big hit, sometimes it's a disaster.
Right.
It's just all about timing. Like, I've seen random drunk women jump up on stage when the guy's in the middle of his show. For example, when somebody's doing our bed act, you know, I've had a woman be like, "Oh, I can't take it," and they jump on stage to get with them, and we're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, not that kind of club. You got to settle down."
I've seen that so many times.
So, to get a little more into the nitty gritty and stuff, Ashley, if you can continue talking about your club, how different are the ways in which you feel like money is spent between women and men, such as, you know, making it rain on stage, the amount of money they tip on side stages, dances, even buying people out for hourly rates and stuff like that? Like, what's the differences that you can tell between like Le Bear and your club?
I feel like at Le Bear, girls definitely are more at the stage, especially on busy nights. And girls versus guys, girls definitely make it rain more. You do have your customers that'll come in every once in a while, as far as like my club, and they like to make it rain. But most guys would rather just like hand you $100, a couple $100 for sitting there, because they don't like going up to the stage like girls do.
Okay, okay. So it's less about a bragging thing and more about just kind of being convenient for you type thing, right? Versus where I feel like sometimes women, they make it rain because it makes the entertainer on stage feel good, but it's more about kind of bragging rights, like, look what I get to do for my man type thing.
For the most part, yeah, I think so. Girls, they want that attention of being like up there, hey, look at me. And guys are just like, here, I don't want to go to the stage. Or they will wait till side stage because they don't want to go up to the main stage.
Yeah, I think that's common in both clubs. I definitely see that. So for dances, do you find like a lot of people typically just give you the rate for dances, or do they tip you extra on top of that? You've seen notice any difference in that?
I'm going to say it's probably like a half and half thing. Because you have some guys that will tip you really good for dances, and then some guys that they just pay what it is. So I think it's kind of a half and half, and it really depends on the night and the crowd too, because sometimes you may do dances and not have anybody tip extra, and I think it's because they don't really think about it.
Yeah, understandable.
I tend to say, you know, when they're like, okay, how much do I owe you? And I'm like, okay, it's this much unless you want to tip. If you kind of remind them that they can tip there, then they're like, oh, okay, yeah. But some of them, I think they really just don't think about it, because even as a customer coming to you guys' clubs, there's been times when I would get a dance and not think about tipping the extra, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, once again, it's tipping, so it's not required. I mean, at the very least, as long as you're paying for the dance, then everything's kosher. It's just interesting to see sometimes like the people that are ready to spend a little extra on top of everything, and people that don't and whatnot. I just wanted to see how about you, Megan? Like, how do you feel money spent on your stages, considering that you're used to actually performing similar to what the guys do?
Well, when it comes to your club, I do agree. Girls like to show off a lot, so you're going to get a little bit more crazier on the girl side. With the men, now in my case, I'm more of a stage performer, even when I'm not doing shows. So I actually usually do get a lot of attention when I go on main stages and on side stages. Unlike some of the other girls that don't seem to work on their feet as much on stage. But dance-wise, it's really the same thing. It's about 50-50. It's basically about what she said.
Okay. And like, in your opinion, does more money on an average basis exchange hands in a male club or a female club?
Ooh.
That's hard to say.
Yeah, that would really be hard to say.
I think from the appearance, just the girls at stage, it would appear to be the male club. But like I said, there's several times where I've just been sitting with people and they'll hand me $100, $200, $300. So it's hard to tell because you see more happening at the male club because girls are, they want to put it out there. But at the female club, like I said, you don't see it as much sometimes, but it's there.
Yeah, I think the reason why I ask is like for me, my opinion of it or view on it is that I feel like there's more ways to spend money at a female club, versus where obviously hourly and like being bought out for the entire night is a little more common. I can easily see a bachelorette party or excuse me, a bachelor party coming in with maybe 10 dudes. Everyone pitches in. They're like, all right, we want 3 dancers to stay with us all night, and so. You might not actually see a bunch of money be spent. Sometimes they make it rain on you, sometimes they don't. But at the end of the night, you're still going to get compensated for your time. As well as female clubs having private VIP rooms or booths or cabanas and stuff like that, which is something that we don't necessarily have. Actually, I know for a fact that none of the clubs I've worked at have something like that. We might have a VIP seating, but it's still fairly open. And typically those are just for like purchasing an hour of the gentleman's time. And once again, like you said, it might be in those scenarios there's less money being shown, but the exchange is still happening in one form or fashion.
Right.
But like I said, it's make or break. There could be a night where everyone spends $1 million, and there's a night where everyone spends absolutely nothing. I'm sure that happens on both sides of the fence when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, Megan, do you feel like women act more or less the same, men and women act more or less the same in our respective clubs, or do you feel like their personalities are different as far as like the crowd goes?
You said with women?
With both, like in the difference between like what you see, like how you see the men and women act at your club versus how they act at, let's say, hard bodies.
Women, I would say that women basically act the same in my experience. Like we've said before, they usually like to show off a lot more and be a little crazier, and then most of the time they're intoxicated, so that doesn't make a very good mix.
Yeah, I've heard more times than not that people are like, "Oh, we're both women, so I can kind of get away with a lot more." And you're like, "No, not really."
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of cases where that's happened. Don't get me wrong, I am a lot more lenient with women. I let them get away with a lot more than I would a man. But yeah, women are definitely crazier, a little harder to handle. And men, I really don't have so many problems when it comes to the men, just because usually they just want to drink and hang out, be more laid back. Every once in a while, you might get one that drinks a little too much, and they might get a little too rowdy. But for the most part, the men are usually a little more laid back.
Okay, all right. Ashley, do you have anything to add to that?
I would definitely say the difference between the women at you guys' club and the men at our club is like women are crazy. Like just from watching them at the male strip club, like women think like because they're a woman that they can, I've seen them just like think they can grab you guys anywhere or do whatever. I mean, you have some guys that are like that, but I think the women are way crazier than the guys for the most part. For sure.
Yeah, so for me, the understanding that I've given people is that throughout our entire lives, men are typically been told no. When you're younger, you want to go out and be adventurous, and they're like, I want to go into that dark forest. They're like, no. Well, I want to play with this. No. Can I bring mud inside the house? No. So we're constantly kind of told no. Not to say that women aren't, but I feel like men are kind of told a little bit more because obviously women are, my little princess and this and that. You're going to be a queen and whatnot. And, same thing with clubs. Like, women can kind of get away with almost anything with a dress code versus guys. It's like we have it written out verbatim, black and white, what we can wear. So since men are so used to being told no, we kind of have a certain air of reservation about us. And as intimidating as men might be, the fact that women are used to men always coming up to them, I feel like it kind of gets them over that hump versus guys. If we show up in front of a good-looking woman, there's always that slight intimidation factor. So I feel like that kind of keeps guys in check when they go to a female club. To the
Right.
point, like obviously there's always gonna be the guys that are crazy and try to tip in inappropriate places and say inappropriate things. But for the most part, I feel like guys have at least a slight level of reservation versus women are like, hey, we're here to party. Someone's gonna take care of me, I'm sure, and like have at it.
Definitely.
So it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast, but sometimes it leads at the very least for a very good story later on in the night or whatnot. How different is the amount of employees, so to speak, or contractors for your clubs? Like I've had the impression, like I've gone to Baby Dolls and the Lodge that are near La Bear, and they'll easily have anywhere from 50 to 80 women working that in any given night, which I think is absurd, but I understand. Versus La Bear, our rosters fluctuate somewhere between 10 and 18 guys. If we're anywhere above 15, we're rolling heavy, and that's fantastic. But most of the time, we're between that 11 to 14 range. Is that what are your views on that? Is that similar, or is that completely misread on my behalf?
I would say at our club, we actually have over 100 girls that are employed there. But being as we can show up whenever we want, it's a good thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing because I've been there on nights where we have 8 to 10 girls show up. And with you guys, it's different because you do skits, so you're on there for a longer period of time. With us, if we have 8 to 10 girls and we're doing like 2 1-on-1 on stages, it's like you're constantly going on stage. I mean, and then you're not leaving early because you don't have enough girls to leave early. So sometimes it's not a good thing. But then also you have some nights that may be a weeknight, like one night last week where you have 30-something girls show up and you're like, okay, there's so many girls, but it's a weeknight, so it's not super busy. So I think the way you guys do it actually works really well. But I really like having the freedom of going in whenever I want to also, so.
Yeah, that's a good note because honestly, we're not allowed to. Like, yes, we can request a day off in advance and whatnot, but it's a 5-night-a-week job for us because our rosters are so small, and the fact that, like you mentioned, we help each other with our shows. If too many guys are missing on a random night, our show suffers, and then guys are on main stage multiple times or longer, and they won't have as much time to do dances and make money and whatnot. So it definitely, you bring up a very good point with that. But I guess you're right. The fact that women can kind of work whenever they want creates a roller coaster of whether it's a super busy night or not. Megan, do you experience something similar to that?
Yeah, that's basically any club I've gone at. Some nights you have a ton of girls, and then other nights you don't have anything. And yeah, you go on stage a lot, and then you're exhausted. But yeah, it's basically like that anywhere you go, unless you're in a smaller club or a smaller town instead of the big city.
How big of an influence do you think the number of entertainers working either on the male side or the female side affects the amount of money they can make?
It definitely affects with the females just because the more girls, and especially the more good-looking girls, the more competition. So you might not make as much money. You gotta work more towards the goal you want to do for that night. With you guys, you have, like you said, you have like a set number of guys that work at that club, so you probably won't fluctuate as much as the girls do.
Yeah, so you think for as far as the male clubs, it wouldn't be a big difference if we went from, let's say, we had 18 guys or 12 guys working at any given night?
I don't think it would make the biggest difference, no, but it also depends on who your competition is too.
Yeah, understandable. Like certain body types or whatnot overlapping and whatnot, and themes, say cowboys or rockers and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So how would you compare the overall or average physical conditioning of dancers between the female clubs and the male clubs?
Oh, that's a fun one. She knows. Well, with male dancers, obviously you guys need to look a certain way because that's what women expect to see. They expect to see like the romance novel or the sexy actor in the movie type men. And so you guys are expected to look a certain way. With female clubs, don't get me wrong, I know men expect to see certain type of girls, and um, certain shapes and sizes, but they're definitely a lot more lenient on the body types that they have dancing at clubs. But at the same time, there's someone out there for everybody, so I really don't think too much of it.
Okay, okay. So you don't feel like it really? I mean, obviously, it would definitely affect the male side of it if we had a couple of guys that were not in the physical, like top physical shape. But you feel like women can kind of get away with a little more on their side.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Ashley, I heard you chuckle. What are your thoughts on the subject?
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with a lot of what she said. Like, I feel like girls are more like, okay, this is like most 99% of girls are like, okay, this is the body I want to look at from a guy. But I feel like when you have guys, there's guys that like bigger girls, guys that like smaller girls. I mean, there guys like so many different things. So most clubs will hire some that you're like, how is that person a dancer? But then you're like, okay, well, there's somebody that likes that person, obviously, because they're still working here. So yeah, it's just I think guys are more open to liking all different kind of body types, where girls are more set on they want to see that like fit cut body.
Okay, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, it works like a case in point. I mean, they're getting paid, so someone, they deserve to be there for one reason or another. That being said, I also feel like if you want to maintain a certain reputation, you have to set a certain standard. For example, I have heard in my travels of certain people going to certain clubs for certain reasons, i.e., like, oh, okay, this club hires all the suicide calendar girls type, with the colored hair and the tattoos and the ink, and like, yeah, this club doesn't really have the best looking women, or no, you want fantastic performers, you go to this club. So I feel like that kind of also, like, yes, you have to have a variety for everyone, but if you want to market a certain standard, then that has to be your standard and your status quo as far as what the majority of the people you hire fall into. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so one last thing before we put a bow on it, is there actually, so being an entertainer now in your club and stuff, is there anything that you have seen at Le Bear that you would want to possibly incorporate into your club or your show or anything like that? Like, have you been able to take something for the club, or are they just that far apart that nothing really overlaps?
They're really far apart. I mean, I think it would be fun to at least throw in some skits sometimes. And I've heard that years ago there were a few girls that used to do that at our club, so I've kind of thought about that a little bit.
Well, you and I actually performed a New Year's skit because at Le Bear we do Guys and Dolls for New Year's, where we kind of, it's not really a swingers club, it's more like just kind of couples come out and enjoy the New Year thing. And you ended up making a skit for yourself. You and two of your friends performed on stage, all female, and then you and I did a duo skit as well, where we did some acro yoga and whatnot. How did you feel about that? Like, was it something that kind of you enjoyed doing, or was it like, okay, I did it, I checked that box, and I'm good to move on?
No, I loved it. I mean, I would definitely love to be able to do something like that. It's a lot more fun, and it's something different than just, well, me just going up there and walking around on the pole and trying to look cute. So yeah, it's definitely a lot more fun, and I think it keeps people more interested because it's something different all the time versus doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think guys would appreciate every woman going on stage and doing something. But I think like maybe throwing in like a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 mix, like at least 1 or 2 shows an hour, I think that would definitely do it. And then the people that, like, the example, the guys that don't really want to be there, they're there with their bachelor party and they're just kind of like, well, it's not my thing, but I want to support my friends. Like, that could be like the tipping point that kind of wins them over when they see like, oh, there's other things going on here.
Right.
How about you, Megan? Considering that you were performing before you went to a strip club and now you see like the male side, is there anything that you'd like to kind of cross over or take away?
Well, since I basically did the same thing, other than the fact that I'll steal your guys' music sometimes because I like the music you guys play, but I really don't
There is
do
nothing
shows.
wrong with that. I cannot tell you how many times I have Shazam songs in female strip club.
Oh yeah, I definitely love a lot of the music you guys play. Um, don't get me wrong, I love performing, I love competing and doing all of those things, but also at the same time, a lot of times I got paid to do that. Not the competing, but when I did shows at clubs. But since I don't really do that now, I do miss it and I love it. But the good thing about knowing a lot of the male dancers, especially the ones in San Antonio, is I still get my fix on going on stage by being part of their shows or even being part of strip offs. I've been part of 2 or 3 strip offs at Hard Bodies with different guys. Um, so I really don't take anything away show wise, really, unless I'm helping somebody put a show together, which would be a male entertainers. I do help do that sometimes. But other than that, I really don't take anything away anymore except for just stealing music from you guys.
Fair enough, fair enough. So I haven't enticed you to try any fireworks or Axel encouraged you to do silks?
Well, I've been tempted to do silks just because it looks fun, but not for a show, more just for myself. Fire, I did do fire. Not the poi fire like you do because I have way too much hair to risk for that. But I did do the fire wands, and I did light my body on fire in different sections, so I did a lot of that.
Oh wow, okay, so you definitely threw down then. There's no doubt about that. The Do you still practice pole now, or was it strictly a thing for your show?
Uh, the stripper pole?
Yes. Is there another kind of pole? Am I
Well,
missing something? Flagpole dancing?
well, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if you said pole or something else for a second. I'm like, wait. Um, I mostly did it just for shows and stuff, but I am recently starting to do it again, even at home. I have a 10-foot spinning pole at home now, so I'm starting to get back into it just because I also enjoyed it for the fitness and it's fun to do tricks. So I'm starting to do it again.
Yeah, I have so much respect for any female that does, or male that does pole dancing because I ended up taking classes for about 3 months hoping to bring it to La Bear just to spice up the show. And I'll be honest with you, it was one of the most grueling and painful rehearsals and practices I ever had to do. Like, always coming out of class bruised or like, chunks of skin missing and stuff like that. So anytime I see a performer doing it, I'm like just double respectful. And sometimes when you do like those suicide drops and they catch themselves with their thighs, like I cringe because I know what that feels like. I'm just like, ugh. So my
See,
hat's
and
off.
that's the. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying my hat's off to you for doing that time and time again.
Thing about the pole tricks though is it. Don't get me wrong. Like you said, it does hurt. It hurts, and you get bruised. It feels like you're getting Indian burns when you're first learning to do it. But the thing is if you stick with it, your skin and your body adapts to it. I guess you could say so. You're just used to it. So after a while, none of that hurts. When you do the suicide drops and you catch yourself, yeah, you're using your skin to catch yourself. But at that point, when your body's used to it, it doesn't hurt at all. We
Ye-
basically do everything with no pain.
Okay, well, maybe one day I'll get the courage up to try to get it to that point. But for right now, I'll just stick to Silk's Fire and all my other randomness that I try to do. All right, ladies, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Typically like to end the show with our worst and best events of the week, kind of giving people a little insight to the randomness of our job. Because you guys are guests, you don't necessarily have to make it part of the stripping community, but by all means you can. Megan, would you like to start us off with your worst event of the week?
Well, this past Friday, even though I really didn't end up dancing at a club, I did have an event where there was a girl that was already really drunk early in the night, a dancer in the back that really did not want to give up on trying to hit on me and take me home. So that was kind of interesting that I kind of basically had to fight a drunk girl off me for at least an hour before I ended up leaving for the night.
Yeah, that could definitely put a damper on your evening when you're like, look, I just want to go home. I need you to kind of back off just a smidge. And by a smidge, I mean a lot.
Yeah, and when they're drunk, they don't care. Like we talked about girls before, she just kept coming, and you're like, all right, you're kind of in my personal space. Like go over there.
Yeah, exactly. They have like minimal depth perception, and they feel like you need to smell the alcohol in their breath for them to talk to you and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I totally understand. I had a girl last night ask me like, Have I seen her baby daddy?" I'm like, "Sweetie, A, don't know who you are. B, don't know who the hell your baby daddy is. Like, sorry for you." How about you, Ashley? What's your worst event of the week?
Um, I'm going to say that was Friday night when I attempted to go camping in a tent because I don't do tents. And sitting by the fire enjoying, and then got the keys locked in the car.
Oh no.
Some random guy that I'm pretty sure was on drugs trying to help us, and it was really irritating me for like 2 hours. And then ended up calling roadside assistance to come unlock it, and they didn't even charge me. So I was like, wow, I should have done that like 2 hours ago. And then packing up and going home at like 1 in the morning because I could not handle the tent.
Okay, okay. For me, mine, yeah, definitely. So I recently modified my look to accommodate Jason Momoa's Khal Drogo character. So I grew out my beard, and I've been doing it for the last month, right? Been doing it every Friday and Saturday night prime time, and it just hasn't been a fan favorite. It just hasn't been getting the response I've wanted. Mind you, having a beard this large like gets a little annoying between upkeep and like itching and like I went to a fan expo last weekend where I had to wear like a ninja mask, so like the beard was getting in every which what direction underneath the mask and whatnot. So finally I do it, this past Saturday again, and it just bombs. Like I get like minimal response from it. So I just leaving work, I'm like so frustrated. I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm done. I skip the gym. I go to the gas station. I pick up a pint of Ben and Jerry's cookie dough ice cream. Yeah, totally having a cookie dough moment. Pick up a whole row of Oreos. I go home. I have a Ninja that I use for my meal prep. I threw the entire pint in there and the Oreos, right? Because I pretty much just like Oreos stuck together with a little bit of ice cream. Blended the whole thing up and just sat there eating my sorrows away with cookie dough Oreo ice cream. And I'm like, man, this stinks. I grew it for so long. Da-da. Finally, when I was done, like I was on a sugar high, I just grabbed my clippers and just shaved my beard off. And yeah, so that was my my little point of the week where I kind of totally went soap opera on myself because of my act and whatnot. And so yeah, that's definitely mine. On the bright side, though, the my best moment of the week was actually last night. We there was a party girl, birthday party girl at the club, and she got pretty hammered. So towards the end of the night, she was coming off of her high, but she was still kind of drunk. And at the end of the night, we take pictures with everyone up on stage, and you can request the entertainer to sit on their lap. So she wanted entertainer, dancer B, and dancer A is sitting there. He's like, well, you can sit on me. I don't think he's here. And she's like, no, I want dancer B. And it's like, okay. And we're like, hey, dancer B, where are you? Dancer B. And like, he wasn't up on stage for some reason. So we were waiting, and she just had this look of death on her. It was like, I want my birthday picture with dancer B. And it was like, okay. So dancer C was like, look, we don't know where he's at. You can lay down across all of us. And she's like, dancer B. We're like, oh, okay. So we run back, find the dude, drag him up on stage, and I'm not sure if he was drinking or not, but he just stands right in the back behind the seats and smiles for the picture. And the lady's just looking at him like, I want to sit on your lap. He's like, oh, okay. So he sits down, and then instead of like taking like a side sit on his lap so you could still see him, she just plops dead center squared face to the camera on him and hides him. So we take 30 pictures with the guy completely hiding from the camera behind her, and he's just sitting there smiling like nothing's going on. And like all of us in the back row were just rolling. I was like, this is perfect. What a better way to end the night than some mild humor. It was great. And she's like, thank you so much. You guys were great. We're like, yeah, not until you sober up and see that picture tomorrow. So yeah, that was mine. How about yours, Ashley?
My best night was probably last night, because I'm not a big sports person, and a couple of friends had tickets to the Stars game, and they were actually down pretty close to the ice, and it was really fun to go in person. There was only one fight. I really wanted them to get in like a big fight because I thought it'd be interesting. But it was really fun to watch in person, so I'll probably do that again. And then just going down to Deep Ellum and hanging out with friends. It was just kind of a fun night. Get out of the house, get away from work. So that was probably my best night this week.
Right on. Megan, how about yours?
I'm a little more simple whenever I'm just having free time to actually get together with friends and everything, I got together with some of my girlfriends and we went out and we got some food and just had a bunch of laughs. That's really I actually look forward to that whenever I do get the day of the week that I get to get with the girls and we just get to vent and joke and enjoy some good food.
Right on, right on. It's all about the simple things in life, right? Were you guys able to play any Jenga at all?
Not this time, but then again, I think a lot of people are afraid to challenge me at this point.
Oh, look. It's so humble, too. All right, well, ladies, I just want to say thank you for being on the show. It's greatly appreciated. Hopefully our listeners got some insight on the compare and contrast between us both being in the same industry yet on different sides of the tracks. So thank you again, Ashley. Thank you again, Megan, for being on the show. It's really appreciated. You can find me at facebook.com/Cesar Collazo, COLLAZO, or Cesar LeBear7 on Instagram and Twitter. Thanks again for tuning in. We appreciate you listening. Check out our Patreon page at Crowdpleaser, and we hope to see you next episode.